Excellent. Thanks very much, Keith. And yeah, certainly looking forward to having a discussion with you this morning on effective use of precision technology. The research that I'd like to talk through and share with you this morning comes from a GRDC project that we've been working on for the last 2.5 years, and that was a national project across all of the major grain growing regions. And early on, that project is around the integration of technical data and profit drivers for more informed decisions. Early on in that project, we collected 300 benchmarking data sets nationally with 3 to 5 years of data for each of those benchmarking data sets and identified the profit drivers in the major grain growing regions nationally. And just a bit of an insight on an earlier output in the differences around profitability between average and top 20%. In Southern Australia, the top 20% on the right-hand side there, retaining 30% of turnover as net profit before tax, doing 8 to 10% as an operational return on equity, and pretty exciting place to be, pretty resilient businesses in terms of how they're positioned for a business or production shock. On the left-hand side, representative of average, which actually includes the top 20% as well. And if it was top 20% versus the remaining 80%, the gap would be even wider. In Southern Australia, these businesses are doing around 3 to 4% as an operating return on equity and retaining around 10% of turnover as net profit. So for every $1 million worth of turnover, the businesses on the right are retaining $300,000 as net profit. The businesses on the left around $100,000, so quite substantial differences. A later output for the project was to look at precision agriculture and how precision agriculture aligned with the profit drivers, and was precision ag a profit driver. So we've certainly got a really exciting range of precision agricultural technologies available to us, and so what I'd like you to start to think through is, with profit and profitability in mind, which ones should we choose and why? And for me, it's about the ones that consistently add profit margin over the long term. When we did the research around precision agriculture and the influence it was having on profit, in addition to some big variations between technologies, we also found that there was a variation in the benefit derived from a common technology across different growers. And as a result, the fit for different precision PA applications is highly situational, and there are really good reasons for this, and we'll explore some of those this morning. The take-home messages from the presentation are that the net economic benefits derived from PA are highly situational. As a result, I think it's important to apply a structured and objective approach to assessing precision ag opportunities. Also important to keep in mind the excellent implementation against the fundamentals of crop rotation, crop agronomy and operational timeliness are the low-hanging fruit to capture first. And as advisors, when we're working with growers or as growers, we can sometimes pass that off and say, oh, but I'm doing all of that right. I think the variation that we're seeing in profitability between average and the top 20% demonstrates that there could be more opportunity here than we first think. And when we look at the top 20%, they're generating 10 to 15% more yield based on their excellent implementation against the fundamentals. As a result of this, we've developed a 10-point checklist to assess PA opportunities against, and this is just to make sure that the PA opportunity that you're considering and looking at actually is going to achieve the outcome that you would like it to achieve. Why the need for this structured approach? If we have a look from a national perspective, we interviewed more than 60 growers, we developed more than 20 case studies, and a robust economic analysis was undertaken for each of those. Around 1/3 of the PA technologies were generating a net economic benefit of greater than $10 per hectare, and these third averaged around $40 per hectare as a net economic benefit, which is quite substantial. And so there's some Monties here that we should be looking to use and apply if we can. The remaining two-thirds of the studied applications, and it wasn't an exhaustive study, it didn't cover every technology and every application, but it covered the major ones. Two-thirds of them were generating a net economic benefit of less than $10 per hectare, and the average across those two-thirds was pretty close to zero. If we then look at what are some of the PA success stories, so certainly tailoring N, P, K and S in mallee environments is a PA success story. There's those three distinct different land classes with very different production potential. These zones are repeatable from year to year in terms of their land class and land capability, so it's fairly cost effective to classify them and identify them, and then can be managed in a repeatable manner. There's the opportunity to realise 20% more yield on the most productive mid-slopes when they're fed to their potential, and as a result of being able to manipulate yield on the most productive areas there's a $15 to $30 net economic benefit in that SA Vic Mallee type landscape. Another winner is variable rate lime in regions where soil amelioration and adjusting pH is required, and it's naturally sensitive to the spread cost of lime and the variation in soil type in regard to how much lime saving you can achieve. And so if you've got a spread cost of lime, which includes product, freight and spreading of $55 a tonne, and there's only 40% of the paddock that needs lime, and so you're able to save 60%, that'll result in a $65 per hectare net benefit. If you're working with $40 per tonne lime and 30% savings, it'll be around $13 a hectare. Yield-mapped farm agronomy trials are another PA success story, and what I really like about yield-mapped farm agronomy trials is that they are specific to your farm, your property, your soil types, and your skill set and your implementation ability. So it's testing things as a grower under your management and your resources that you've got available to you, and so they're very tailored. And as a result, there's opportunity to refine variety selection, define yield response to specific inputs, and so you might find you can use implemented farm agronomy trials to demonstrate the tipping point on the way up in regard to inputs, or if you're already aggressive on some fertiliser inputs such as N, and perhaps a bit too aggressive, you can identify the point on the way down where you actually can save N without compromising yield. Well implemented farm agronomy trials have got an ability to add $50 per hectare or 10% of gross margin. The application of controlled traffic farming in the northern region, so the northern GRDC region, so northern New South Wales and southern Queensland, is also a winner, and controlled traffic farming and reduced overlap is certainly a winner in all regions around reduced fatigue and reduced fuel input and time savings. And so you might get $20 to $30 a hectare out of it in the southern region. And what's turbocharging the northern return is the ability in those really deep soils with extra soil moisture holding capacity to store an additional 20 millimetres of stored soil moisture, which is boosting yield by 0.4 tonnes per hectare. If we look at the PA journey and the PA story over the last 15 to 20 years, I certainly think that we had some early wins with PA around, if we just look at as auto steer, reduced overlap, reduced fuel savings, reduced labour, reduced fertiliser and chemical inputs, massive benefits around reduced fatigue. And so we had the early win with auto steer, and we see really high levels of adoption with auto steer, around 80 to 90%. That's sort of with some early wins that boost confidence, and we started saying, oh, what else can we do? How else can we use precision ag technology? And I think through the mid-range there, we potentially were working with some technologies that had higher marginal costs and lower marginal benefit, and so they don't perform as strongly on an economic analysis. Important to keep in mind, this study was taken from an economic rationalist perspective. I'm not a PA technician or a PA specialist or have a vested interest in any of these technologies, so it was certainly an economic rationalist perspective on things. So if we have a look at some of the PA technologies with mixed results, these are some of the ones up on the slide there. So we'll see some of those mid-range technologies, and then we'll also see some newer technologies and some very intelligent technologies. So camera spraying technology and variable rate irrigation, like these are some of the most advanced and technically impressive technologies. And the challenge with those is that at present they have a very high capital cost, and so that makes it challenging from in an economic analysis. And these generally range between -5 and +8, so -5 being a net economic loss. Important to recognise that there could be some very sound non-financial reasons for adopting these PA technologies or technologies with mixed or moderate benefits. PA can often be an important source of motivation for farming, and it can encourage growers to be monitoring their crops and monitoring their farming system more closely, which can be beneficial. Some of these applications can also be an important management tool. We might not currently see that those generating a strong net economic benefit, but in the case of camera sprayers, we could be preventing something like resistance in fleabane, which is an expensive, hard to kill weed, and so we haven't got resistance there yet, but as a management tool, we could be preventing a bigger problem further down the track. And there can also be intangible benefits to some of these technologies that are hard to put an economic value on. And we'll certainly see the commercial feasibility of newer technologies improve over time as acquisition cost reduces. Another one with camera sprayers where they can have a fit. There were some growers that were at in areas where they were operating at large scale. Summer moisture conservation was critical to their business. They needed more than one boom spray to keep up with summer weed control. And so where they were duplicating that source of capital anyway, adding a camera spraying technology which would produce savings in some years that favoured them also made sense. So, given that there's variation in net economic benefit, we felt we needed a checklist to navigate our way through assessing opportunities, and we've developed a PA checklist. The first one, which we've spoken about, is have we fully exhausted those internal opportunities? Because often there's scope to get the big rocks right first, and there can be significant uplift just from those. And be hard on yourself or your clients when you're looking at that. Understanding at what stage of the development cycle the PA technology is, and has it been robustly tested in a commercial environment. Because products and applications that are further along the commercialisation pathway generally have lower cost and greater capability. And we see this massive range because there's technologies such as auto steer and yield mapping. They're coming standard on new and a lot of second-hand equipment, and so they've got a $0 acquisition cost. So from an economic perspective, when we then go and apply a 15% depreciation and a 5% financing cost, 20% of zero is certainly no more than zero, and yet 20% of a $300K investment is $60,000 per year. So you've got to get a lot of uplift in yield or some significant cost savings to just offset that depreciation and financing component. It's also important to consider which lever are you pulling with the PA technology that you're applying. And so if we're pulling the income lever in high rainfall regions, that's a $1,000 per hectare lever. Variable costs might be $400 per hectare. Within that, fertiliser costs around $110. Chemical costs overall could be $90 a hectare. Summer weed control could be $10 to $20 a hectare. So different levers, different sizes. Also, we need to consider the degree to which we can influence them. Some of the $10 to $20 per hectare for summer spraying. There's some expensive chemical brews on weeds that might have a low frequency across a paddock where we can actually reduce a significant amount of that cost. But overall, we'll find that if we're working with a bigger lever, we'll have more scope to generate a robust net economic benefit. And a lot of those success stories were mostly based around pulling an income lever or pulling a lever that covered multiple variable costs, or pulling a capital cost lever like lime. This is an interesting one as well in terms of the pathway. Is precision agriculture technology the most effective mechanism to achieve the outcome that you're striving for? And what is my starting position? Because sometimes there can be alternative pathways to achieve an outcome. And if we look at two growers here, they're both operating in a 4-tonne long-term average wheat yield area. One's investing $120 per hectare on nitrogen and phosphorus. The other one's investing $170 per hectare on nitrogen and phosphorus. And this isn't unusual. We see this in benchmarking data. But these two growers have got a very different journey and opportunity ahead of them in regards to rationalisation of these inputs. Not much scope for the grower that's investing 120, where there is a journey to rationalise N and P inputs for the grower that's investing 170. Why is that? In most situations, you can supply N and P to a grain crop for $30 per tonne of wheat yield, which is what grower A is doing. Grower B is investing around $42 to $43 per tonne of wheat yield on N and P. That grower, and we've seen growers that have used N seekers and N-rich strips, and they said, oh, we've taken a journey from 170 to 120. Fantastic that PA's been that enabler for them, but there can be alternative channels to achieve that same outcome, such as disciplined agronomy, benchmarking, or being part of a benchmarking group. So important to understand your starting position, and where the opportunity is and what alternative channels you might also be able to use. This is just to show the situationality around lime cost per tonne and percentage of lime saved, and essentially massive range between $3 a hectare and $103 a hectare, depending on conditions unique to each grower's property. If we have a look at summer weed control and we look at the brews across the top for summer weed control and the percentage of chemical saved, so if we're working with a $10 brew and we can save 50%, well, we're going to save $5 in chemical costs. And given that to operate a weed spray, an optical camera spray generally costs between $5 and $20 per hectare, depending on your available scale. To make that technology pay, you really need to have a low cost per hectare, which is scale driven, and be saving on a more expensive chemical brew, which might be around targeting fleabane or skeleton weed or cooch, some of those harder to kill, more difficult woodier weeds. Certainly feel that it's important to use an objective approach in assessing PA opportunities. If there's a report that we've got that includes the case studies, and I can also provide the template if anyone would like it, around how to assess an opportunity. And in that, we're applying a 15% depreciation cost and a 5% financing cost. When we do that analysis, we also need to be careful around the attribution of yield increases, and sometimes we saw a variable rate lime case study that was written up, and they were factoring in a yield increase in that case study, and the yield increase was achieved through pH amelioration. That could either be achieved through a blanket rate or a variable rate approach. It's only the cost saving between the variable rate approach and the blanket rate approach that should be attributed to PA, because the yield increase could be achieved either way. And also, if you look at yield increases over time, that can be driven by a number of factors around genetic influence, a seasonal influence, as well as some management changes or PA that you might have changed. Also really important to understand how seasonality will influence PA, and this comes out of camera sprayers. We were talking with a number of growers, and they were mentioning that in their first season they used a camera sprayer, and their first summer it saved them $60,000 worth of chemical, and they thought, this is working, it's on track to achieve what we want it to achieve. And then they had a different summer, a wetter summer, and a need for more blanket sprays. And in that second summer, the savings were only around $5,000 across their program. So very different outcomes in 2 different years. And the fantastic thing is that we've got tools such as Climate that we can use to put some objectivity around how we factor in the influence of seasonality on the benefit that we might receive or the cost saving we might receive. And seasonality also influences other technologies such as inter-row sowing and how much inoculum are we working with in regard to disease in different seasons. Understanding the operating scale that you've got and how that influences commercial feasibility is important, because a technology which is commercially feasible for one business might not be commercially feasible for another. And the classic example there is if we look at that camera spraying. If you're running a camera sprayer across 10,000 hectares, you can get the cost of ownership and running of that down to around $5 per hectare. And if you're farming 2,000 hectares, it would be close to $20 per hectare to run that machine. And also important to be think through effective areas. So some of these technologies that we're applying, we might be farming 4,000 hectares, but it's actually only providing a benefit in cereal crops or in cereal on cereal. And so we need to think through that effective area that the technology actually benefits when we're doing an economic analysis. Number 8 is around ensuring that you're using decile 5 pricing rather than spot pricing when calculating the net economic benefit. And if we reflect back to the 2008 timing, we had conditions there where DAP was at $1,400 a tonne, urea was at $900 a tonne. Seems hard to believe it got that high with current pricing. And so some of the numbers that were run with those high pricing, the net economic benefit looked relatively strong, whereas if we took a longer term view, it could be quite different. And so that relates to both commodity pricing and input pricing to take the long term decile 5 view. It's a unique area. There's specific skills and technical knowledge that you need to get the best out of precision ag technologies, and so it's important to reflect and say, have I got that skill set and capacity internally or easily accessible to me to get the best out of it? And also think about the complexity and the influence on labour productivity that the application of the technology might have, because labour productivity is also a key profit driver. I also think it's important to challenge ourselves when we do an assessment on the net economic benefit of a PA technology. Challenge ourselves, have we actually been PA neutral? Because personal bias can easily influence an economic assessment and the assumptions that we apply. And so I'd challenge all of us to take a PA neutral approach, because if we're overly PA positive, we might be a bit glossy in our view of what the benefits might be. If we're PA negative, we could be overlooking a low cost, high impact technology that is available to us. Often the technical feasibility is exciting and we get excited by that. It's the commercial feasibility which influences our bank balance, and I think being PA neutral is a valuable thing to do when you're doing an economic assessment. So yeah, precision agriculture, it's a fast moving space. It'll continue to be. Assessing PA opportunities against that checklist, I think, will assist us with more consistently identifying the low cost, high impact technologies that will have the best fit for our farms and to achieve what we're looking to achieve. Just a quick reflection there on the take-home messages. The benefits are highly situational. As a result, we need to be structured and objective in our approach. Don't overlook excellent implementation against the fundamentals, and apply the 10-point checklist to when you're looking at adoption of a new technology to make sure it is going to achieve what you're wanting it to achieve. And yeah, certainly happy to take questions.